Hello WinCraps fans. I recently released WinCraps Pro version 2.6J, which enhanced the Hotkeys feature with some new key combinations and alignment options. So what are hotkeys? Have you used them yet? Hotkeys are a way for you to invoke AutoBet scripts with the press of some keys or clicks of some buttons. As you may know, AutoBet scripts allow the game to perform tasks for you automatically. They can play entire strategies, gather statistics, output data, or a myriad of other things. When active, they run after each and every roll, and together with auto roll or hyperdrive, they provide a lot of automation. However, you might not want that. Maybe you don't want a script that runs after each and every roll. There might be times, such as when you're playing manually, that you'd like to be able to invoke a script to run just at certain moments. That's where hotkeys come in. Hotkeys are assigned to AutoBet scripts, but the difference is they run when you invoke them, they run for one cycle, and then they're abandoned. The scripts can be as complicated or as simple as you like. For example, let's say you're playing a game of increasing and decreasing inside place bets. Rather than using multiple clicks to make multiple bets, going back and forth between the bets and the rail, you can make a hotkey that increases all the bets for you simultaneously, and another hotkey that decreases them all simultaneously. Well, two such hotkeys have already been created and are available for you when you download and install WinCraps. Give them a try. Press Ctrl-A to add $5 to the inside place bets and Ctrl-S to subtract $5 from the inside place bets. Here I have selected player Dave, and if I press Ctrl-A, you can see it's added $5 to all his inside place bets. The automatic adjust bet amounts routine has changed the 6 and 8 into $6. If I press Ctrl-A again, they go up another $5, and again, and again, and again, and they'll just keep going. If I press Ctrl-S, it'll subtract $5 from each. Again and again and again until it's 0, and then nothing will happen. It's done. Now, when a hotkey is invoked, it's important to know that all of its actions are applied to the selected bettor, unless, of course, the script has been written to specifically direct the action somewhere else. So if I were to go select player Brenda and press Ctrl-A, now Ctrl-A will increase her bets, and Ctrl-S will decrease her bets. So whichever bettor I've got selected, that's where the action is going to go. So how do you create your own hotkeys? Well, the first thing you need to do is decide what it's supposed to do and then write it in an AutoBet script. And then after that, you can create the hotkey. So let's say we want to have a key that bets all the box numbers with both place and buy bets. Let's go to the AutoBet screen. And now we're going to make a script, but this script is going to be used for a hotkey. It's not actually going to be used for a specific player. So it doesn't really matter where we write this script. I've selected Dave here. We can write the script here, and then we're going to save it. We're not going to activate it. And then once it's written, we can delete it. It doesn't really matter. So let's say we want to start out with some buy bets. And let's use the add subtract routine that we just kind of saw there. So let's say we're going to add 25 on buy 4. And we want to add 25 on buy 10. And we want to add 25 on all inside place bets. That's it. That's all we want to do. Let's check the script. Looks good. Now let's save it. And we save as. What I like to do for all the scripts that I am intending to use as hotkeys, I just put like an HK in front of them. And I've already actually made this one here, so I'll just overwrite this. And while we're here, let's make the one for subtracting. So we'll just say subtract. And I can copy that and paste it on these other two adds. Check the script. Looks good. Let's save that one. Save as. And I got subtract 25 across. And we've overwritten that one as well. Now, I don't need to keep this up here. I can just delete it. I can select new, whatever. Just get rid of it. We're not going to use it for a regular script. And now we're going to make a hotkey. So now we come to Game, Hotkeys. And let's talk about this first before we actually build our new hotkey. What we have for a hotkey here is we have the key combination. We have a button. We have the AutoBet file that's been assigned to this key combination, and we have a short description. Now, that's right, hotkeys can be displayed as buttons. So it'll say here whether that button is going to be hidden or shown. Right now, those two keys that we used, Control A and Control S, they're hidden. If I wanted to show them, I could click on this button or click on this hotkey. Then I can select from the menu Edit, Show Button, and now you can see over here that it's appearing. I can also click on a hotkey and I can right click and choose Show Button as well. I could click on a button, Control click on another one, or Shift click, and choose as many buttons as I want, and it's all simultaneously hide or show them. Okay. Now, the short description is actually optional. However, if you're going to display your hotkey as a button, then whatever appears in the short description will also appear as the caption on the button. So if you don't provide any short description, your button will just be blank. So you'll either have to color it or figure out somehow what that button does. So best to put in a short description. Okay, so now let's try and create that hotkey. Let's say we were betting across, so we're going to say Control C. We want to show the button. If we didn't want to show it here, we could just click Hide, but we want to show it. Then we can click on Select AutoBet File, or we can double click in this empty space, and then we can go choose that file that we created. So that was HK add 25 across, and now we want to give it a description because we're going to show it as a button. So we're going to say add 25 across, and now the last thing to do, this button down here in the corner that says add, you click on that, the whole line turns red. That means it's ready to be added to the list. And then you've got a little arrow here, you could just take and put it in the list wherever you like. So I'll put it at the top, and there it is, and now you can see it's over here, it appears on the top. Now at the same time, let's say that other button we created for subtracting, maybe we want to try Shift C for that one. Let's go get the AutoBet script. That was HK subtract 25 across, and then we'll change the description to subtract. And now we'll click add again, put it in the list. Now we have these four keys. Let's go see how they work. So I have Dave selected. I'm going to click on 25 across. There we go. $25 buy 4 and 10, $25, 30, 30, 25 on the inside. Let's click Brenda. Brenda does the same. Add. That looks good. Let's click it twice. Goes up to 50, 75, 100. Let's try the subtract. Starts going down. Okay, that looks good. Go back to Dave. Hit subtract. Goes back down. Okay. What if I wanted these? Now, right now I have an auto alignment mode selected, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. But for right now, I see the add 25 across and the subtract 25 across are really not together, and maybe I want them to appear together. So what I can do is go to the hotkey screen, and I can move these. Now you can just click on something and can drag it, or you can cut and paste, either way. So in this case, I'm going to click and left click and hold on this first one, and I'll drag it down, and I'll put them together. So now they're together here, and now when you look at the buttons, they're also together. Add 25 across and subtract 25 across. Okay, so those buttons are working good. Now, you might think that you're limited to 52 hotkeys. After all, your possible key combinations are Control A through Z and Shift A through Z. However, you're allowed to reuse these key combinations. You can use them multiple times. What happens then is any key combination that you press will invoke the first hotkey in the list that has that key combination. You can change the order at any time by dragging and dropping or cutting and pasting the lines as I showed. For instance, if I wanted to take, let's say I want to make another hotkey for Control A, I pick a AutoBet file, I give it a name, we'll just hit some keys here. So now I have a Control A, I have two of them. If I invoke Control A, it will run the very first one. If I wanted the second one to be the one to run, well, I can drag that up to the top, and now it's the first one. So it will be invoked when I hit Control A. Now that's just if you're going to use the key combination. Since we have the buttons shown, it doesn't really matter which one is first or not. Since they're both here, whichever one you click on, that's the one that's going to be invoked. So you don't need to worry too much about that. So let's get rid of that hotkey right there. Okay, we tried out our new button here. Let's talk now about some options for hot buttons that you might want to consider. At least maybe it'll give you some ideas. And actually, before I do that, let me show you some things here. These buttons here, if you will right-click over a button, we can see that you have align, size, color, and hide. Let's say that I want to hide this button. I click hide, and it disappears. It doesn't mean it was deleted. If I will go back to the hotkey screen, I can see here's that button. It still exists, or not the button, the key. This key still exists, and it can still be invoked with Control A. And I can re-show the button by clicking and saying show buttons. And now it comes back in. If I wanted to delete it, well, I would have to select it and then press delete on this hotkey screen. Then it would be gone forever. Now, I can also right-click over a button, and I can choose the alignment, and I'll show you just a simple alignment now, and I'll show you some more alignments as we get some more keys made. If I select a key, or a button, and I select align and a direction, it will try to move that button in whatever direction I choose towards the edge of the window. If it encounters another hot button along the way, it will stop and align with that button. So I'm on the very first one here. If I were to say up, it's going to take that button all the way to the top of the window. If I take the second button and say align up, now it will go up, but it'll align with the first one. It won't overlap it or go underneath it or anything. Now, even if they're not in direct alignment horizontally, if at least they will hit each other, they'll still form an alignment. So now let's take this one here, which I've moved off to the side. I'll say align up. It goes straight up, hits another key, and then aligns with it. I can do the same thing with the last one. Align up. There you go. Same thing, any other direction. Align right. Now, let's say I want to put this one down a little bit, go to the right, and I know it'll hit the other one. I can say align right. So there you go. So where you want to put buttons, you want to put some buttons in some odd locations, but you want to scooch them together. You can just say, well, let's say I want to push this one to the left. I can say align left. It just goes and lines up with the other one. Maybe I want to go a little bit up. Now, if I go too far, if I choose this one now and say go to the left, it will go all the way over to the left. So you have to kind of overlap them a little bit, at least. Now if I say align left, it will line up. So those are just the simple alignments, and we'll show you a little bit more later. For now, I'll just show you one here. Align all in a column, center left. So this puts them back where I had them to begin with. Now they are selected to an auto mode, and whether I add or remove buttons and whether I change the size of the window, it will maintain this orientation. So let's create some more hot buttons, and then we'll demonstrate those other alignment options. And I'd like to do this also just to kind of give you an idea of some things you can use hotkeys for. You might not want to do exactly the ones that I do, but it might give you some ideas. So let's say we made the 25 across. How about we make something a little more flexible? What I would like to do is I want to bet the inside place bets, but I want to be able to change the amounts fairly easily. So how about if I'll use check stack 1? And I'm going to say whatever value is in check stack 1, I want to use that to make all my bets. So how about I'll go make a hotkey. I've already made the AutoBet file. I'll show it to you in a moment, but let's make the key right here. So let's say I want to, what should we call it? Control D. We want to show the button. And we want to say, find the hotkey. I called it CS1 inside. We're going to say add CS1 inside. Click the add it to the list. At the same time, let's choose the other one, which is subtract CS1 inside. And now we'll change this add to subtract. Click add, put it in the list, and now we've got two more buttons here. Add CS1 inside, subtract CS1 inside. So what happens when I click add CS1 inside? Nothing happens. Why? Because CS1 is 0. How about I put something on there? Let's put $5 on and click the button. Now I've got $5 inside, just the same as we had with Control A. How about if I put 15 on there? Let's clear those other bets out. Now I'll press add CS1 inside, and it adds 15. Click it again, another 15 goes on. We ended up with 30, 36, and again, just keeps going up $15 at a time. Subtract, goes back down the other direction. 15, back down to 0. Okay, so that's kind of useful. You could just change those amounts whenever you want, and click one button and get everything done, accomplished at once. You know, you could use these buttons also. You could come in here and you could write a script, and you could say, you know, bet this bet, that bet, so forth, and make it like this is going to be level 1 of some strategy. And you can save that as an AutoBet file, assign it to a hotkey, and then you can make another level. You could say, okay, now I want to bet an extra amount plus add another bet, and save that as a hotkey. And you can end up with, let's say I have a strategy that has 6 different levels with different amounts of different bets on each level. Well, I could have 6 hotkeys, and every time I click a hotkey, it would invoke that level. And I could call them, you know, level 1, level 2, whatever. That would work pretty nice. How about, let's say that Dave is going to make some bets, and he sometimes wants the bets to always be working on the come out roll. So let's say he's got some bets here. Right now it's a come out roll and they're all turned off. Now, of course, Dave has available action, the call all bets on, that Shift F6. So he could do that to call his bets on, but it calls all bets on. So if he happens to have other bets on the table that might be off, let's say he's got some hardway bets and hardwakes are working on the come out roll or not working on the come out roll, then maybe he doesn't want those called on. So in that case, he really can't use Shift F6. So you want to make a hotkey. So he can come in and say, make a hotkey, and we're going to call it, let's say, Control O for on, and let's choose the hotkey that I made for that. Call all bets on, place and buy bets. So let's call that call on all place and buy. Click add, put it in the list. Now let's go see if it's working. So here are his bets, and he clicks on call all bets on, and there you go, they all came on. So again, because it's place and buy bets, it's not going to call anything else on that might be off. And let's just look at that script too. It's a very simple, easy script. Let's see, call all bets on. Where's that? There it is. Okay, it's just 2 lines. Call on all place bets and call on all buy bets. You could change that as you like. Maybe you want to just call on the 6 and the 8. You could say call on place 6 and place 8. You could, so say you were doing lay bets and you wanted to turn something off at specific times. You could say call off lay 4 or whatever. You can make the button do whatever you like. All right. How about let's say from time to time Dave is making a buy 4 or buy 10 bet, and sometimes it gets to a place bet gets to a level he wants to convert it to a buy bet. Well, you know, you can make a, let's say he's making a place 4 and a place 10. When it gets to the point he likes to make a buy bet, he can come up here and click on the buy button, click on the bet, then go back down and click on a check for the next bets he wants to make. So there's a few steps involved in there. Maybe instead he'd like to make a button to do that for him. Okay, so I've already created one. Let's go make a hotkey out of it. So let's say, what should we call this one? Control G. All right, and or no, let's make it to Control B. I'll go back and do that in a second. So let's say hotkey by 4 and 10. And let's make it control B, as I said. Not that it really matters. But over here, we'll call it by 4 and 10. Click on add, put it in the list. Now we'll go back here. Now, what happens when I click by 4 and 10? Nothing happens. Now, why is that? Let's go look at the AutoBet file, show you how I wrote it. Okay, hotkey by 4 and 10. Ah, okay. So it wouldn't make sense to buy a $5 bet, would it? You pay $1 VIG for a $5 bet? That's a pretty hefty price to pay. So I've got a statement in here that says if the place 4 is greater than or equal to 20, then buy the place bet on place 4. Same thing for the 10. Well, by the time it gets to 20 bucks, it's worth doing. So this is illustrating the point that, you know, your hotkeys don't have to just do something. They can do something conditionally. You can enter in conditions here that if the conditions are right, then it'll do whatever you want. All right, let's see. How about another one? How about we want to show some information from time to time. Let's make a couple of hotkeys that show us some bankroll information and some summary. So I'm going to come in here. I want to say, let's say I'm going to use Control I for information, and I want to choose a hotkey that I made that says show bankroll, and over here we'll call it show bankroll. Click on add, put it in the list. Now let's choose the other one that I made, and this is called show summary, and over here we'll call it summary. Click add, put it in the list. All right, let's go take a look at that. Show bankroll. Dave has a $1,000 bankroll. What happens when we click on that? A box pops up and it's showing me his high bankroll, current bankroll, and low bankroll for the current hand, the last hand, the current session, the last session, and all sessions. So this is some information you may or may not want to look at, but it's just to illustrate that you can make this do whatever you want, whatever information you want to have show up. Maybe you want the value of certain check stacks. Maybe you want to show a value of how many bets you have or divided by a number of bets you lost, and whatever. You can add this information and have it display whenever you press your hotkey. Let's press the other one, show summary. This one shows what are the current session rolls, points established, won and lost, and the last session rolls, points established, won and lost. So just some extra information. All right, how about we try something else? Let's say you're a person who believes you can influence the dice, or maybe you're a skeptic and you just want to experiment with some numbers and see how they look and how they compare to somebody who's claiming to have this ability. So you could go into the configuration screen. You can go to the probability tab, and you could set up a probability table to try out different things. Now, there's a lot to talk about on here, and I'll make another video for that. But for now, let's say we want to increase the probability of a 6 appearing and the probability of an 8. So I can increase those to 20% each, and then I could go and say, I want to save that as, and I want to give it a name. In this case, I already saved it. I'm just saving it again. I'm calling it Heavy 6-8. Okay, so that has been saved, but now, just for the sake of illustrating here, let me clear this out again. So everything's back to normal. This is normal probability and nothing is active. So how about if I make a hotkey that will invoke that? So I'm going to hotkey, and let's go to Control P. We'll use that for a probability, and we'll choose our AutoBet file. Let's say hotkey load probability heavy 6 and 8. Over here, let's just call it active probability 6 and 8. Click add, put it in the list, and now we come back here and we see here it is. What if I click on it? Does anything happen? Well, it doesn't look like it, but of course something happened. Let's go to Game, Configure, and now you can see, even though I had cleared that out, it has pulled that file back up. You can see here the one that I added, the 20% on 6 and 8, and it has activated it. So now whenever I try to random roll, it's going to select from this probability. All right, How about something else that you might find useful? Maybe some ATM operations. How about we say we're going to use Control A again, and we're going to show a button, and we're going to find the AutoBet file. It's called HK ATM, and over here we'll just call it ATM. Click Add, put it in the list, and now that's another one that I created. It's called HK ATM Deposit Excess, and here we're going to just call it Deposit Excess. Click Add, put that in the list. All right, let's go take a look at that. Let's say Dave has got some bets out here, and he's rolling and winning a few things here. So let's say he rolls a 12 here, cleans up on the field bet. Now he's up to $2,000, and he decides he wants to deposit. He started with 1,000. He wants to take that extra $1,000 and deposit it back in the ATM. So he clicks on ATM Deposit Excess, and bang, he goes back down to 1,000. Okay, so let me show you how we wrote that. HK Deposit Excess. So here's what it says. It says if the bankroll, the current bankroll, is greater than the beginning bankroll, which it was, 2,000 versus 1,000, then ATM deposit bankroll minus beginning bankroll. So 2,000 minus 1,000 is 1,000, so it's going to deposit $1,000. So this just gets him back to his beginning bankroll. How about he just wants to adjust his bankroll? Now we click this ATM, and now we have a little thing here that says to remove money from your bankroll, enter a negative amount. To add to your bankroll, enter a positive amount. Let's say he wants to withdraw $200. He enters 200, and now he's up to 1,200. How about Brenda? Maybe Brenda wants to increase by 500. Bang, now Brenda goes up by 500. Okay, let me just show you that, just in case you want to. I'm not sure if that's posted on my site, but I'll double check. So if I open this HK ATM, here's how that's written. ATM withdraw, input, this is where it's asking you, and part of input is entering a prompt. So here's the prompt. It looks a little complicated, but it's really not too hard. So I wrote a prompt that says ATM, then it does a carriage return and another carriage return to create some space. And it says to remove money from your bankroll, carriage return, enter a negative amount, carriage return, to add, etc., etc. Okay, so it is going to withdraw the amount that I enter. So that's how you write that. All right, let's see. How about another option here? Let's say that Dave, let's see, I got to select Dave. Clear all his bets off. Let's say this time he wants to play come bets. And he likes to take odds, but he doesn't like to take odds all the time. He likes to take odds at certain moments when he feels the timing is right. So he doesn't want to go in here to the autoplay screen. He doesn't want to say auto take full odds, because that's not what he wants. And furthermore, let's say that he's playing at a 5x table. That's 5 times odds. But he doesn't want to take 5 times odds on everything. Let's say he wants to take single odds on the 4 and 10, double odds the 5 and 9, and 5 times odds only on the 6 and the 8. So he could write an AutoBet script that'll do that, but he doesn't want to do it every roll. He only wants to do it when he's ready. So that's perfect for a hotkey. So let's go. I've already written it, and let's make it into a hotkey, and then I'll show you how it is. So let's say Control O for odds, and let's pull up the HK. Take the odds, and over here we'll call it take odds. Click add, put it in the list. Let's go back and test it now. So let's say he establishes a point of 4, and let's make some bets here for Dave. Let's say he's establishes a come 8, come 9, and a come 10. Now he's waiting for the right time. Let's say at 12 rolls, 11 rolls, 5 rolls, Now he figures, hey, these numbers are due, and he wants to take odds now. So he clicks take odds, and boom, there it comes. Now he's got 5 times odds on the 8, double odds on the 9, and single odds on the 10. Exactly what he wanted, and exactly at the moment he wanted it. So let me show you how that one's written now. HK take odds. So you can write this in many ways, of course, but what I wrote here is just a little test. It says, if come4 is greater than 0, in other words, there is a come4 bet there, there's a flat bet there, then bet the amount of come4 on the come odds for 4. So if come4 is 5, come odds 4 will be also 5. That's single odds. Come5, if that's greater than 0, then we're going to bet come5 times 2 on come odds 5. If come6 is greater than 0, then we're going to bet come6 times 5 on come odds 6. And the same thing for 8, 9, and 10. So I think you can see how you can vary the odds here, and you can add in all kinds of conditions. Maybe you can say if this bet hasn't won for if it hasn't won $10 in the last 10 rolls or whatever, then I don't want to bet odds at all. However you want to do it. Okay, one last button I want to show you and talk about. Let's say that you wanted to create a button to start a new session. Now you can do that, but there are a few caveats, and I'll show you. First, let's create the button. Let's go to Hotkeys, and let's say we want to use Control Z. We want to show the button, and let's choose Hotkey Start a New Session. And here it is. And over here, we'll call it Start New Session. And we'll add it to the list. Okay. Now, here it is, down here, Start New Session. So Dave has some bets out there. He's up to $1,200 bankroll. Let's say he wins these bets. Let's just pull them all down that way. All right, Dave's a happy man. He's won a lot of money, and he's ready to start a new session. Maybe he's going to go home and come back the next day. So you click on Start New Session. Everything gets cleared out. Then you see the pucks are reset. His bankroll's reset. He's all ready to start over. Now, that works just fine, but I caution you, auto betting is very powerful, and there's some things that you can do sometimes that can get you painted into a corner. Let me pull up the auto bet file that I wrote for that, and we'll talk a little bit about it. So, Start New Session. Here's what I wrote. I put it in a conditional statement. If not beginning new session, then start new session. And in this case, I told it to preserve the check stacks and the dice roll file. If there was not a dice roll file active, then you don't need to worry. It's not going to do anything. If I had chosen just this statement, and let me get rid of all the other stuff. So if I just have this statement, what would happen if I would invoke such a hotkey? Well, it would come through and it would say, okay, let me run line number 1. That says to start a new session, okay? It clears the table, zeroes everything out, and starts the AutoBet script over. So as it starts over, what's the first line? Start new session. So it does the same thing again. Clears the table, zeroes everything out, and starts the script over. And you can see it's just going to keep doing that. It's now stuck in an infinite loop. Now, if that happens to you during auto betting here in WinCraps, nothing's going to advance, the rolls won't advance, so you just click on the table and it'll ask you, hey, do you want to stop auto betting? You say yes, and it'll stop, and then you can go look at your script to see what's wrong. But if by doing it the way I did it, and putting it in a conditional, now I've said, let's say we were beginning a new session, and then it said start new session. That would still be an infinite loop. But if I say not beginning new session, then it will start a new session. So if there's some rolls that have been occurring, some bets have taken place, we know it's no longer the beginning of the session, and we say start new session, great, it'll start a new one. If not, if we're at the beginning of a new session, there's no reason to start a new one. You're already at a new one. So I hope that makes sense. As I'm saying, just be careful. There are probably a few commands in here that might not work very well for a hotkey unless you structure them properly. Okay, now we've got quite a few hotkeys here. Let's go start playing around with them a little bit and try some of the alignment options. First of all, we got a lot of them here, so maybe we want to try coloring some of them just so they stand out and make it easier to find things. Like, let's look at these two here. Add CS1 inside, subtract CS1 inside. They kind of go together. How about we right-click over it, select color, and I want to paint both of those orange. Okay. How about ATM? Maybe I want to make that one green. So you can go through and color hot buttons however you like. Now let's try some of the alignment options. First of all, how about we put some buttons up here on the top? Let's say we right click and we say align. We say all. Now we said in a row and in a column. Anything that's selected from in a row or in a column will be a automatic alignment mode, and it will stay that way. It'll stay in that alignment. So let's say in a row, top center. Okay. Now you see everything went in the top. However, there wasn't enough room to fit all the buttons, so it went back and started a second row. If I go now to alignment, all in a row, you can see that top center is checked. That means that it's going to stay. That alignment will stay whenever you resize the window or whether you add or remove buttons. If you move any of these buttons manually by clicking and dragging it, or by selecting a direction left, up, left, right, up, or down, or one of these other options here, left and up, etc., then the automatic alignment will be canceled. And of course you can reselect it, that's no problem. So what are these other ones here? Left and up, left and down, right and up, right and down. Well, how about, well, let's say we want to have kind of a cluster of buttons over here on the side. How would we do that? We could, of course, sit here and pull buttons to the exact position we want, try to line them up. It's kind of hard to get it exact. You might spend a lot of time. It might get kind of frustrating. So instead, what you can do is just kind of loosely put them where you want them to be. And I'll just kind of make a little grouping here. You don't have to move all of them like this, but let's say I want a couple more over here. And the last three, I just want to have them tack on to the end over here. But I'm going to pull these down a little bit, and I'll show you why in just a second. Okay, now I want all these buttons to be collected together, and in this case, let's say I want them to kind of be over here on the left. So I click over any button, and I say align all, left and up. So now it's going to align these buttons as far left as the leftmost button. So right now, this one right here is the leftmost button. And it's going to go up as far as the uppermost button. So that's probably this one, maybe the ATM button. So one of those two it's going to choose. So let's do that now. Align, all, left and up. Okay? So now they all came over to the left. That little grouping that I had that was kind of sloppy, that kind of tidied those up, snugged everything up together. And these buttons came sliding over. Well, maybe I want to move one of these down over here, let's say. And maybe this one I want over here. So I can move that and just select that again. Align, all, left and up. And everything gets up. Well, maybe I want to move the whole package up a little bit further. I'll move this button up higher. Select the same thing again. All, left and up. Now they move further up. Maybe I want to move just one down over here. Align, all, left and up. See how that works? Let's say I want to move over to the right. Take one of the buttons, move over to the right. That's how far right it's going to go. Now the up is still going to go as far as the uppermost button. So if you wanted to get lower, you're going to have to lower more than one button here. But now if I say align, all, right and up, now everything moves over to the right. So I think you got the idea on that. Alignment isn't perfect. Sometimes you might have to mess around with it a little bit. But of course, you can always just drag the buttons to exactly want by yourself and get what you want. So that was a mouthful, quite a bit of information. I hope you found it informative, and I hope it helps you have some fun with the game, make it easier to do certain things. So thanks for watching. Take care.